Three, two, one. Today's episode is brought to you by Stamps.com. If you're looking for ways to skip the trip to the post office and dodge all that hectic holiday shopping traffic, why not save time and money with Stamps.com? Stamps.com lets you compare rates, print labels, and access exclusive discounts on UPS and USPS services all year long. It just makes sense, especially if your business sends more mail-in packages during the holidays. Whether you're selling online or running an office or side hustle, Stamps.com can save you so much time, money, and stress during the holidays. Access all the post office and UPS shipping services you need without taking that trip. And you can get the discounts you can't find anywhere else, like up to 40% off USPS rates and 76% off UPS. Going to the post office instead of using Stamps.com is kind of like taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Just going up a couple floors? Sure, take the stairs. Walking up 30 flights a day, you could use a break. If you spend more than a few minutes a week dealing with mail and shipping, Stamps.com is a lifesaver. You'll save so much time and money, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. Save time and money this holiday season with Stamps.com. Sign up with promo code POD for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, free postage, and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter code POD. P-O-D.
Daniel, we're back.
We are.
Woo!
How are you?
Alex is in the background. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. It's a nice day.
I mean, there's a lot of snow on the ground.
There is, but, yesterday was bad.
No, it
freezing
was.
rain.
It just did not. Was there freezing rain? I just knew it
Yeah.
was snowing nonstop.
Okay, I get this feeling when I shovel
Yeah.
and you look hours later and then
It's
it looked like you didn't even do anything.
Yeah, that's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. Speaking of bad feelings, Alex is not feeling 100% because he just got his booster shot. So he's in the call, but he's not going to be discussing the things we will be discussing today. First half of the show is going to be hockey talk. Second half, it may be even more than a half. It might be 2/3 of the show. We're going to be like hardcore spoilers when the time comes, and we will say when it is becoming. What am I talking about? We're going to be talking about Spider-Man No Way Home because that was such a good movie. Out of context spoiler on the screen now. Don't worry, it's not what you think. I have the Lego Emperor with his
Very nice. What set is that from?
That is from my Death Star, which was the set that was in the movie and has been in the past few movies.
That was in Homecoming, right?
It was, and there was the assassin battle droid on the starship, which does not come with the set. So somebody decided to put that there for, maybe it's because around the Mandalorian time.
I have a question. I know we're going to talk about Spider-Man a little later.
Yeah.
But in Homecoming, and this is not a spoiler, this movie came out 4 years ago.
Yeah, go watch Homecoming. It's on Netflix.
What did you feel like when Ned dropped the Death Star?
I wanted to turn the movie off. I didn't feel quite right. I felt like there wasn't enough respect given, especially, the spider sense was only sort of introduced into the Holland movies in the second film, but I felt like seeing his prized thousands of pieces Death Star about to hit the ground, I think it's around 4,000, I feel like Peter's spider sense should have kicked in right there and then, but massive mistake. It was like when there was that video going around on YouTube a couple of years ago of this obviously very rich person having a fully built Star Destroyer, the 4,000 piece one, and just throwing it off the second level of his house onto the main level.
Why?
Turned it off. I don't know, because some people just have no respect for Lego, and it makes me sick. Anyway, I don't want to say let's get hockey out the way because this is a hockey podcast, over 200 episodes of it. But let's talk about hockey here, Daniel, because half of tonight's games that were originally scheduled have been postponed. Up to 5 teams right now, as of recording, have been shut down until after Christmas, that being Boston, Calgary, Florida, Nashville, Colorado. 19 teams have players on COVID protocol. We're not going to go through every name. Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, and Vancouver are all down to 50% capacity for home games now. I believe it's right now around 13 officials are on COVID protocol.
Yeah. I think it's up to what 35 now, officials.
Last time I saw was 13. Is it 35 now?
I believe so.
So we're not in a good way right now as the NHL.
No, we're not.
It's just sort of spreading the jam away, like trying to get to the Christmas break at this point. Like Montreal still have 2 games. Are the Leafs playing at all until Christmas or no? I'm getting a nod from Alex. So I'm assuming they must go home after their Seattle game, or maybe there's a game on the road. But it's not a good way right now, Daniel, is it? It's a bit concerning. Thursday versus St. Louis. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, it's and I know like these guys are always known for the jokes. The Twitter account Hockey Images That Precede Unfortunate Events.
Oh yeah.
And last night they tweeted out basically just the schedule of the games yesterday. And that was it.
No. And then you just kind of knew, right?
You just knew that.
Sorry, it had to be a pain for a lot of people involved, right? Because if you think about it, and as I say this, Daniel, you might want to just adjust your lighting.
I am doing my best for that.
You're a bit funky, so I'll just kind of carry it quickly as Daniel's fixing that. So, for example, last night was supposed to, I think there were, of the 5 games that were supposed to be on Hockey Night, I think they lost 3 of them. So that means Sportsnet would have lost last night. Oh, sorry, they did lose Vancouver, Toronto. They lost a Saturday night game between Montreal and Boston. So I'm sure they weren't happy to lose that. Not to mention the revenue type of things. Elliot Freeman was talking about that apparently the Habs average around $2.3 million gross. So they lost that against Philly because that game was obviously played without fans in the building. That's kind of quiet. And they're going to lose at least half of that for whenever this Boston game is done again. That's going to be a hit to hockey-related revenue and, escrow and the cap potentially going up next year, which not looking great, eh?
That's a huge chunk of, the expected needed money that the NHL, sorely wanted in terms of that big announcement they had when they mentioned that this is where we are in terms of the revenue. Escrow is not going to be here forever. We're going to see the cap go up, and then these are the projected earnings we're going to have for a certain time. And, the $5 billion, not big in terms of what other leagues are doing, but progress with what we wanted for the NHL. And right now it's just, it doesn't feel like when we just went back to online school and then the NHL just shut down and then it's all happening again.
I don't feel that deep of despair. I'm not at that point. Now I'll tell you, the day we went to the movies, a lot of us, my family and I just sort of went around and, we were gathering some materials because I said, okay, let's go out and let's get a new thing of toilet paper and all this type of stuff because, people are we didn't get like 6 things, but we got 1 package because we're not maniacs in this household. But we got prepared just in case because in that sense, but it's still, I think what helps is the thing of vaccines and all the players that are on COVID protocol. They're mild symptoms at least. No one is getting seriously sick. So I think that kind of helps it. It's not really just the world has shut down in the 24 hours and maybe we're just so used to that online life right now. But and the Rottweiler, especially making noise, he's not happy about it either.
Not happy being inside.
No, he's not. Too bad he's got to deal with it because we're recording. He went on this big walk in the Rouge yesterday. I don't know why he's being so lippy. He got a great time yesterday.
Because this is why you gave him a huge expectation already.
Yeah.
Yesterday, and he's like, "Hey, where's the walk today?"
No, you know what, Teasel? You can just calm down and let us record. Yeah. We're not going to spend way too much time, like 40, 50 minutes talking about COVID because we've been mentioning it, sprinkled throughout the last couple of weeks. And it is not just so we can get to Spider-Man quicker, I swear. But one thing we will definitely mention is right now it looks like the National Football League, the NFL, you might have heard of them, pretty big deal in North America. So apparently now if you're a double vaxxed athlete and you're symptomatic, I did it, they won't be testing those players anymore. Now, listen, no matter your stance on that, I think we can all agree that everyone here, like people get vaccinated and let's kind of be cautious here. It's very difficult, Daniel, to see the Canadian government letting people in that are asymptomatic, especially if they are still, positive for COVID. They've been very strict with the borders. Yeah,
it's something that I was kind of iffy about that. I know it's not as severe as we saw, but you don't know the risk they pose. If I'm going to look at it like, I guess, a micro level of things, there's concerns right now at Shoppers Drug Marts in the downtown core that basically the Ontario government said, hey, you could get your booster shot, you could get your test right here at Shoppers, and you don't always have to do an appointment. And I think there was a pharmacist that did quit over concerns that, there's these people that are going to be asymptomatic and maybe they're not really feeling it, but they're just going to be allowed to go as they please in these public areas, not knowing who they're going to infect, not knowing who they're going to speak to. And to see that on like a bigger level right now with the border is definitely concerning. I know that they're thinking about that for the athletes, for the staff, but that's a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's much more of a struggle, and people have talked about this, that the big sort of roadblock for the NHL is, listen, the NBA has one Canadian team, the NFL doesn't have any, and the NHL has seven Canadian teams, and it probably doesn't help them that, it's all most of them are their big money makers too. It's just like, I'm sure the last thing the league want right now is to have their two biggest money makers just slash their money too. So it's so frustrating too, just like as Ontarians right now, that they're trying, like, it feels like every time we go into lockdown, it's like, well, you're a couple months late here if we really wanted to start flattening the curve here. It's also very frustrating when you see the states just don't care about COVID.
Yeah. And
it's like, I watch the games and I see, Carrie, please stop whining. I know you're not happy about COVID either. None of us are. Sorry for the dog. What's rough is I was watching a bit of the Sens Flyers game yesterday, and I just see, like, there's this row of Flyers fans. I'm thinking to myself, why is not everyone wearing masks there? And you realize in the States, like, there are so many parts of the US that are like, COVID's done. You don't have to wear a mask. And you want to pull your hair out at it. And then here we are in Canada, here in Ontario. And it's like, yeah, again, arena restrictions slashed in half. You can't go dancing for people who like doing that. You can't attend, like, movie theaters are getting slashed.
Can't eat in there anymore.
Yeah, I was really concerned that was going to be brought into effect immediately and I couldn't get my popcorn at the movie theater, but luckily I did.
And your 2 drinks.
And my yeah. Well, you're welcome for that extra drink, Daniel. You cheeky man. Anyway, what a great movie. We're gonna talk about Spider-Man, Daniel. How could you?
I'm sorry. I know we keep hinting it, but yeah.
It's just a frustrating time, COVID. It's not even fear anymore, like when the world first shut down March nearly 2 years ago. It's just annoyance now.
I don't remember my previous life anymore.
I remember very little of what it was like hanging out with people, and that, like, seeing you guys again was like, this is kind of weird.
It was weird.
Nice, but it's weird.
Yeah,
it's rough, man. It's really, really rough. I don't know what the league are gonna do now. I know, in, like, last night on the Hockey Night broadcast, they were mentioning the stay-at-home mini-series that were happening. Yeah. Like, you're sort of, I remember screaming about that to start the year, why they should have kept that. It was good for travel. It was easier for the players. And apparently, and we still don't have taxi squads, and maybe, like, people saying that's not going to stop them. It prevents, short-handed rosters and that. Some teams get to vote to play or not, some aren't. Players like Nick Cousins calling for the season to go on a pause. Jonathan Drouin doesn't feel safe. I don't know, man. Like, do they go back to the North Division in that? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just because right now you have a bunch of guys that are asymptomatic. You're going to have to assess a lot of them in the coming weeks. And I guess you're just going to have what we said before, like a more isolating plan in terms of maybe we have to go back to those types of divisions. And listen, it's weird now because I remember 3 weeks ago, we were speaking about the bigger picture with hockey in 2022. We're talking about the Olympics, and now it's just even, the regular season games are struggling to even happen. And we talk about hockey, we talk about the NHL, but we could even say U Sports, the OUA. There are no games from last week until the end of January right now. And that's also something that's highly contained within their certain divisions.
The league, it seems like we're going, I mentioned this last episode, but back to the sort of ground zero protocols. And if you're a player and it's again I understand this 100% again perspective here. Imagine if you're a player and this is going to be a second straight year where the league is telling you, hey there. I don't think this part's official, but you know what? You can't see your family again for Christmas or something. It's a very difficult situation for the league right now. I don't know where they go either, Daniel. But listen, I like how they do the testing. I'm not like Steve Eiserman saying, I don't get why we're testing guys with no symptoms. Well, what are you thinking? Carrie, please don't jump on the window. She's attacking the blinds. How could you? But hey, we'll talk about this another day. Hopefully, and you know what, Daniel? I find it hilarious when people are like, so now the players, if they want rescheduled games, they have to agree not go to the Olympics. And I just kind of laugh. I'm like, shut up. Like, who actually cares? If that's a leverage point to the league right now, by the way, that we're going to reschedule this games and pause for your safety and ours. Mm-hmm. If you don't go to the Olympics, if that's the case, the league should just really look in the mirror that. And I don't know how many people are still thinking the Olympics are a possibility. Maybe Steven Stamkos and that's it. Because I think Canada may not be going to the Spangler Cup, I think was reported earlier.
Yeah, that was also something that it was a level of concern. Because a lot of those guys are coming from other countries as well. Where it's not just one singular continent either sometimes.
It's just like, here's David Desharnais coming from the Swiss League. And then Claude Julien's coming from wherever he is. And all those likes. Anyway.
I know like half the team last year, not last year, like when it did happen, they were like most of them from the KHL as well. So
yeah,
that's something too.
I haven't looked at the way that Russia have handled COVID. I remember it wasn't great before, so I'm sure you want extra caution there. Okay. Next, Paul Maurice surprisingly steps down as head coach of the Jets. Now, I saw a Jets Nation thing the night before that was, it's time to move on from Paul Maurice. And there it is. I know the story right now is very much the Paul Maurice goes out on, he on his terms, quoting that, the guys didn't give up on me, the team he means. They just need a different voice. But Daniel, I'll tell you what I like about this, is that Paul Maurice has just played his cards perfectly. Whether he meant to do this or not. If the Jets weren't turning their game around, aka Blake Wheeler's out, wasn't scoring before, I think he had 1 goal by the time he got hurt. Shifley was starting to pick it up, but anyway. If the Jets had continued to sort of start middling out as they were, Paul Maurice was going to get fired, right?
Yeah, I thought so. I think that this team, it's weird to say that they peaked when they made it to the conference finals because they're so talented that they have so many great players and they just seem to never really come together and make that strong, long run again.
Well, it doesn't help when you lose Ben Sherratt.
Of course, yeah. That was
forget about Dustin Byfuglien, that guy, but Ben Sherratt. It doesn't help when you lose half your defense, right?
But that was the thing too, like I felt with them is that they lost half their defense in the offseason and then they gradually were able to rebuild it, and then they were able to solve that secondary scoring, at least on paper. They were able to solve it, and it still just seemed like they were the same team.
I think if the Jets don't make... I don't get the sense that this is what Chipman is thinking, the owner of the Jets, for those of you who don't know. Do you not also have a kind of a look at Cheveldahov's job here? Like, I was already saying he should have been canned from the Kyle Beach stuff. I think he kind of lucky that his name wasn't more in that general block report. But, I know people were going on about how they've won the Line trade, even though Line's been hurt this year and he hasn't really played in that. We haven't really seen Line true form. But, and Dubois has been great for them, but I still can't get over the fact that Blake Wheeler has that contract and the loyalty. See, if Paul Maurice had been fired, I think his legacy would have been his kind of blind loyalty to Shifley and Wheeler. You know what I mean? But what he kind of did, and just sort of taking it back to Maurice here, is the way that he sort of stepped down is he's never looked better to people. I think I've especially kind of been questioning his ability as a coach. Not saying he's a bad coach at all, but just where is he? Is he a hell of a regular season coach? Does he sort of not know how to make adjustments in that? Or whatever sort of questions you might have had about Paul Maurice, he sort of saved it in a very humble sort of press conference. And do you remember, this may have been at the start of last season, when a reporter in a press conference with Paul Maurice was asking about Blake Wheeler. And Maurice he took it personally. He's like, he's point per game, 11 games in. You're egging my captain. And I'm offended. He actually said he was offended. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
So I think Paul Maurice has sort of saved his reputation here. I'm not saying it was completely like this was sort of this 4D chess move from Paul Maurice, but I think he played his cards very, very well. Because everyone's all of a sudden like, Paul Maurice is great. He's going to get a job in no time. I believe he's probably stressed out. He was like the second longest tenured coach in the league. But,
yeah, he's been there a while. Like, that's something too where I found with Paul Maurice. When we talk about how he is with his players, how long he's been able to do this job, is he was afforded, I don't want to say like a longer leash, but he was like afforded more possibilities and opportunities for him to kind of implement his coaching style there. And I think that, yeah, he got to go out on his own terms from what we know. This is from what we know. He got to go out on his own terms. And yeah, it's just something now that what happens now, because it wasn't like a dramatic thing. It wasn't something where it's like, yeah, this team bottomed out and it's time to fix everything. It's just, they need the adjusting and he knew it.
Mm-hmm. I was having a discussion with a buddy of mine. He's like, man, I don't know if Paul Maurice, I think he was a
Buddy
good
Robinson?
Not Buddy Robinson. Okay. A buddy of mine, like, he was like, Paul Maurice did it. And I kind of questioned, like, remember that famous John Tortorella quote? He's like, as a head coach, you got to get your best players to play, right? I wonder if also some lines in the same with Maurice this season, if he was eventually fired, was, Scheifele wasn't performing to start, Blake Wheeler hadn't. I'm going to ignore that Kyle Connor is tied 10th in scoring right now, selectively, but like how the Patrick Laine, so I still want to know what happened behind the scenes there. I think there's some questions, and again, the smoke screen, great Pokemon move, lower the evasiveness of your opponent, or accuracy, sorry, but yeah. I'll tell you who doesn't need accuracy boost though, Alex Ovechkin. Smooth transition there. Didn't even mean to do that.
Wow.
He is third in scoring right now in the NHL. He has 47 points. He's 2 points back of McDavid and Draisaitl. Not 30 goals, imagine. 22 goals right now. I am saying it right now. My early season MVP is Alexander Ovechkin.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Especially he's been able to do the way Washington's rosters looked.
Man, okay, so for those of you who didn't see this, so TJ Oshie, not TJ Ogo, he just got put on protocol today. So Nick Backstrom hadn't played at all this year because he was that nagging hip injury. First game back, assists on an Ovechkin power play goal, poetry in motion, right? They even do that, what's that? It's this new TikTok thing of like, it's the people nodding their head and then seat to the side. I don't know how you describe it because I don't know how that works, but and it was like when you get to play with your bestie again, and it's Backstrom with Ovechkin. He plays the one game, does great, and then Backstrom's back on COVID protocol, and he's not playing.
It's
Poor
so
guy.
Unfortunate. Like, man, Washington season, like they've stayed afloat, but just the unfortunate things that are happening to them.
Yeah, I feel bad for them. All right, speaking of which, since I have it up, Carrie, do not eat the cans of Pepsi. Anyway,
cans of
top
Pepsi.
10. What? Cans
of Pepsi.
It's a recycling bag I have.
Sponsored by Pepsi. No.
I wish.
Hopefully, one day.
Can we get sponsored by Lego, please? I will build all the sets and put them in the background if you want. I'm begging you.
We'll build the sets and we'll drink Pepsi during the. No. I'll assist.
How about Mountain Dew sponsor us for a Halo Double XP? Anyway.
All right.
Anyway. So here are your top 10 scorers in the league. Tied 10th, Sebastian Aho, Kyle Connor, John Tavares. Pretty good. Tied, I don't like the way that ESPN have this because it's 10 and then here is 4 players tied for 6th, but it's technically 6 through 9. Tied 6th, Matthews, Kaprizov, Panarin, Huberdeau, Stamkos, or Stamkos is 5th, sorry. 4th, Nazem Kadri. Contract year. Very good.
Get paid.
I didn't think he'd get like that $8 million deal. I think he is now. And then obviously Ovechkin and Draisaitl, then McDavid. Oilers, fun win against Seattle last night, eh?
Are they getting Kadri?
I mean, we've had Seattle. No, I don't think that goes. Or do you mean Edmonton? Because they don't need him. But is that what you're saying? Edmonton's gonna. Wait, where are you going there? You don't know? Okay, well,
I don't know.
Okay, Daniel, I don't know why you wanted to talk about this so badly, but Robbie Fabry signs a 3-year contract extension with the Detroit Red Wings. It's worth $12 million. That's a $4 million AAV. If you're curious about comparables, there's Jonas Donskoy and Alex Iafallo. 2 players I don't think he's as good as. So go ahead. What do you want to say?
Okay, 2 things. Every time we say Alex Iafallo, reminds me of saying Alex I want to follow. So it's like Alex, please follow his Twitter. This Alex, our Alex. But again, so for Robbie Fabry, I don't know. Like I know Alex, our Alex put that in the doc, but
was that Alex?
The definition of a comeback kid, am I right? After 2 surgeries, 2 seasons removed from being a World Junior legend, and then St. Louis gives up on him.
It is very much,
and he does well. What did they trade? They traded Jacob De La Rose for him.
I think, yeah, because it was that. I remember at the time the trade was, here's Yzerman making a really nice move. I think it's an overpayment, but it's very much. I could have seen him getting flipped for an asset, but I mean Detroit want to play meaningful games, right? So, I don't have much to say on this. Again, I think it's a bit rich, but like, who cares? You're Detroit. Like, who are you really paying that this is going to affect? You could move this in the last year of your deal if you're really strapped to sign. Like, I don't exactly know if they should be 3-year deals, but like Raymond Insider, maybe. But it's not an issue. It's Detroit. Yzerman, I trust him. I don't know. I don't agree with his COVID opinions, but as a GM, I trust him.
It's a good one because Robbie Fabry is the example of those undersized guys that people still take a chance on, skilled guy. Yeah. And then he was able to remodel himself after all the injuries. So we like him for that. We wish him the best and congrats on the extension.
Yeah, no, he is a good story. It's good to know that he came back to rehab, all that kind of stuff. I'll give him credit there, sure. It felt a little out of thingy being like, all right, so here we are, COVID. A coach resigned, Robbie Fabry, the Detroit Red Wings. But hey, congratulations. I wish I had that much money. Anyway, moving to the Leafs and the Habs here. The Leafs, it's weird, they haven't played, I think, since we last recorded.
No, they have not.
So, really, it's, first off, they're getting hit by COVID too. Sheldon Keefe's in there, John Tavares, Kerfoot. I know I'm forgetting. I think Campbell's in there, Simmons. Could be forgetting another guy, but they're getting hit. They're getting hit like everyone else. I was really, really excited for that Vancouver game. Like, wouldn't have been able to watch it because, because originally it was Montreal where they knew we're done. So I was excited because I've been watching Vancouver lately. Mm-hmm. And I put in the notes, if it happens, it didn't. So the only thing we can really talk about, Jason Spezza's suspension is lowered from 6 games to 4. The commissioner obviously had that first appeal. Or directed to the commissioner, and Gary Bettman's 2 big reasonings to lowering it was A, Spezza's clean history in his 1,300 game career, fair, and the second being that, and this one is kind of garbage, that Pionk was not hurt longer. Don't know how I feel about that.
I mean, like, how are you going to be able to assess that, like, in the moment? But okay.
If you want proof that the league don't care about concussions.
Just look at that. But it's weird. I know this is ironic because they're not playing, but, he already missed the 4 games. And then he's just going to miss these other 2 games anyways.
Well, he'll get like $20,000 back because, or like 2,000 maybe. I don't know. This league is dumb. I don't like it. It's surprising that Gary went back on it, but I don't know.
Was a veteran guy, you got to take care of the veteran guys.
Does he care about Jason Spezza?
I don't know.
Honestly?
Maybe not.
All right.
Alex is nodding no, so I agree with Alex.
Just whatever. I don't know what else to talk about with the Leafs.
It's bad. Like, I think Spezza, TJ Brody, Travis Dermott.
Yeah, that was the other one, yeah.
Sheldon Keefe, they're all on protocol as well. So, like, half the team.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
So we might see Brett Seney on Thursday.
I refuse to believe that. I don't want it. Get taxi squads.
Brett Seney, Alex Steves, and Christian Rubens.
Fair enough. Big guy, Christian Rubens. Montreal, obviously, Boston game didn't happen. Tier Philly game happened. No fans in the stands. Do you see? Apparently, Caulfield's dad was at the game. He was supposed to go to the game.
Yeah, that's sad.
That is unfortunate. But we can talk about Montreal's game against Philly. They won their 7th win of the season. And
I believe in them.
Nearly Christmas. Congrats to Laurent Dauphin. He scored. That was wait a minute. Do I not talk about this last game? Or last podcast? Or am I
believe you did, yes, because we talked about Michael McCarron. And
why am I putting Laurent Dauphin on this?
Because
I have no idea why I would mention
he cost the Habs a first-round pick.
I mean, sure, good for Laurent Dauphin. I don't even remember. The big story was Caden Primo was called up for this game and this game only for some reason. I thought he had this pretty solid game. Second goal was a bit soft, but then he stops everyone in the shootout. Druin gets the game winner, but the real story here, Daniel, is Cole Caulfield had a hell of a game. And have you seen that first power play unit that he's on now?
Yeah, see? What happens when you give him the time? You give him the opportunities.
So, Sherratt's the QB on it. Left half wall is Caulfield. Other one is Hoffman. Suzuki in the slot, and I think at first it was Paling, then Druin was net front. And they've been good. The goal is coming, but he was playing really, really well. Only played like 15 minutes because Dom Ducharme hates him, but yeah.
No, he's keeping us on our toes, not knowing what he's actually going to do. So, that's how I see it. Because sometimes remember I told you this when I was looking at their lines, their first line, I'm like, this team is just going to back check. I can't see anybody on the first line shooting it.
Yeah, and then that second unit is awful. I don't know. It's still very questionable. And I think, I can't remember who it was. It was Perot and someone else is on IR now. Lehkonen has COVID. So the injuries are, I think it was Armia was put on IR as well. So the Habs and their health is just, the other thing with Montreal is they haven't been super hit by COVID. Obviously they lost Nico and Gallagher for a bit and now Lehkonen's there, but normal injuries too, they have just been, we've talked about it. They've been ravaged. They've been absolutely ravaged.
It's for Shane Wright. Don't worry. Obviously.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about Spider-Man now?
Sorry, that transition made me laugh.
Yeah, just you forget about this.
Yeah, the injuries in Montreal, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not it's just
Yes. For next episode, we'll get Alex's thoughts on this as well.
Okay. Yeah, because it's a good movie. Okay, so this was a real. Okay, so spoiler alert for Spider-Man: No Way Home. Seriously, even if you're like,
what is home? See ya there. There you go. We spoiled it.
How many people are listening to this wanting to listen to a Spider-Man review from a hockey podcast? But if you want to watch this movie you're going to, I implore you to delete social media and not listen to this. Never in my life have I wanted someone to experience a movie more than this one. It was so good. So spoiler alert, upcoming, I'm going to count from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. I can't believe Tony Stark came back from the dead. That did not happen, but that was a fake spoiler for any of you who are still there. Don't worry about it. Anyway, Daniel, what a film.
What a movie.
How good was that?
Okay, so I guess I love this Spider-Man. Well, I just love Spider-Man in general, but I've loved Tom Holland's Spider-Man ever since Michael Keaton was the Vulture.
Fair enough.
Because he's the original and only Batman. Yep. But anyways, it was something that I went into because I've read the multiverse comic book.
Yeah.
I've watched Into the Spider-Verse. I've loved all of that growing up. So I was excited for this. But the thing I didn't think would hit me were the emotional ups and downs where I'm like, whoa, did they actually add these to the movie? Where not just the big reveals for things, but also just like the throwbacks for the older movies where they kind of address like the public consciousness, if this makes sense, of this is what we thought about the movies.
So before we get into the specifics here, first thing, I want to know, and this is kind of a weird way to start, what did you think of some of the character designs? Because they obviously fixed the lizard to look a little not awful.
Yeah, and he could talk. What?
Yeah, I thought
that threw me off.
Yeah, I thought the dinosaur can talk. Like, I think Sandman CGI looked a lot cooler than it did, obviously, in the originals. Electro looked pretty sick, too. He didn't look like a plasma boy.
Yeah, they apparently, that was the big thing. They wanted to not make him part of the Blue Man Group this time.
Maybe that's why they didn't try and bring back they didn't bring back Harry from the Garfield ones, because he looked so weird.
Oh yeah, I remember that one where just okay. There was another character that was missing there that I know it was gonna be for the jokes, but yeah, you're right. The Harry one, like, wouldn't it be funny if they had? Well, I mean, James Franco's kind of in the public eye right now, not the best, but I'm like, if you had, Tobey Maguire Harry and then Andrew Garfield Harry,
and then it's like, what's going on here? I mean, I think he could have left. I don't think they've done it very well in either movie. He was fine in like the Raimi ones, but okay. First off, I want to get this out the way because I want to talk about the good stuff in this movie, but I want to get out some of the stuff that I didn't think worked. Okay. And okay, first off, I thought the tone was a bit messy sometimes. Because, so obviously, Garfield and Maguire show up the scene after Aunt May dies.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, and like that's a great way to like get you feeling great in the movie. Aunt May just died. You're really, really sad. It was really, really good and all that. But there were jokes right away. Now, like, did you need to do that? I thought that was a bit off.
They didn't let it breathe, if that makes sense. Yeah, they didn't let the Aunt May thing breathe.
Yeah, it was, you felt horrible because, Happy's there and he's telling Peter to run. But yeah, you needed a bit more. Like you were maybe expecting Peter, like, I don't know, swing away, he falls into a trash can, something that feels Spider-Man, you know what I mean? I still don't know why Doctor Strange decided to mess with time. There was that throwaway line about, like, some party, but he threw away half the universe in Infinity War because it was the best way. And he just helped a kid because he felt bad. Like, Stephen Strange, if you've read the comics, Daniel, you have, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He's basically a magical Tony Stark, isn't he? He's a dick.
Yeah, he's not a good guy. I mean, but that's the thing. He's mean, but he's responsible. I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, that's massive.
I remember Tony from Homecoming. He matured since the older Iron Mans, but like at this point in time, after everything that has happened or is going to happen as well, Tony is still responsible. Yeah,
he takes the suit away from Peter.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a homeless thing. It's more than suit. I don't get what Strange's motivations were there. I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't really. Also, why can Ned use magic? Like, I haven't seen Doctor Strange, so maybe there's an explanation. But I didn't get that. Can, like, just everyone use magic if they have, like, a ring? Like, why could Ned use magic? Why?
I know what you mean. Other than, like, I knew this in the trailers already. Like, I watched the first trailer, the teaser trailer.
Yeah. When
they explain, like, oh, this is what happens. I was expecting. It's funny. Like, we love this movie, but we're just starting off with this. But,
this is like my favorite Marvel movie. Like, let's make that clear. This is a great movie. But
okay.
This is nitpicking.
I think the nitpicking has to do with. I just came in expecting they were gonna explain or elaborate more on why did he decide to help Peter with this, right? Like we talk about like so many of the throwbacks to the Avenger movies for Infinity War. It's like, how many things happened there, and that's why they had to decide on things. It's not just like because one kid was having a bad time.
Wayne, he's been through enough. Like what? Like Tony, even when he had a soft spot for the kid, would have drawn the line. And like you saw how at odds Strange and Tony were, but they had an understanding. Maybe he kind of saw how much Peter meant to him, and there was that sort of reference. But there's like Iron Man is very much was like that was last movie. So maybe they wanted to get away with that, but I didn't think. Faking out the Tobey Maguire death, I was kind of like, okay, weird. We're at the end of the film. Do we need to joke about him getting stabbed?
That was the sorry, that was the same. Like if you listen to it, that's the same sound and reaction that. Remember when Harry gets stabbed by Venom?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But hey, I thought the Miles Morales reference was a bit. Like, I get why you can't bring an animated... Plus, I'm pretty sure they've mentioned the multiverse in the Spider... I haven't seen the Miles Morales ones, but I get why you can't bring an animated character. Even though maybe you could just mess around and be like, oh, here's Childish Gambino because he wanted to play him. But, like, the whole thing of, like, I was hoping you'd be black. I was kind of like, okay. All right.
I have a funny joke about... Sorry, when you mentioned Donald Glover.
Yeah.
So that was when before they rebooted Spider-Man after Sony and Marvel started to share decided to share like the film rights.
Yeah.
Um, Donald Glover was supposed to be the guy that succeeded Andrew Garfield, but the thing is, people got the rumor wrong where they put Danny Glover. It's supposed to be the next Spider-Man, and we all know who he is, but the old guy in
from Saw
in Lethal Weapon.
Yes. But listen, that's why I referenced. I don't know why I call him Childish Gambino. I don't know. Does he even go by that still? Anyway.
He has his. He has that. He has Troy Barnes.
What? No one needs that many names. Anyway,
no, it's because his character in Community.
But you could have Black Spider, that clip of Stan Lee going around saying the best thing we did, and it was by accident, was we made the Spider-Man costume cover all the skin, so it could be anyone behind the suit. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, this is a bit of an awkward joke. I was kind of like, there were some laughs in the theater room. I didn't find that very funny. But
fun fact with that, Tom McFarlane, because he's the guy who also worked on Spider-Man in the 80s. He was actually the guy that created Venom. Well, he bought the rights to Venom and then he put him in the comic books.
Yeah.
He said that about when he created Spawn, where he wanted the whole suit to cover it because you wouldn't know who the guy is.
I like it. I like but it was just a bit, that one joke was okay.
Yeah. I think it was a fan service in a way, because I think there is that high to it. Miles, it exceeds, it is in the pop culture of the comics and the movies, but it exceeds it. Miles represents something else that I think that people just, even if it's not going to be, a live action feature Miles introduced in this movie, it's to keep that idea alive that they could do that after, because I don't know, I'm a big Miles Morales fan. I'm a huge Miles Morales.
Yeah.
And Into the Spider-Verse is probably one of my favorite movies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably my favorite Spider-Man movie. And I know that's crazy because we're talking about Spider-Man, which is probably one of the best right now. But yeah, it's something where it's for me, it's just, if there was a bit of a follow-up to it, that's what I was going to think about in the end credits.
Fair, and we're going to get to that in a second, because I thought the Doctor Strange trailer was kind of weird. This film had the Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi one. I don't think you needed Flint Marko, and I kind of don't get why he didn't trust Peter, because you saw what happened. Doc Ock was saved, he was cool again.
Yeah.
Flint Marko's thing is, he wants to get back to his daughter, but it would not be the Flint Marko thing to do would to be help Spider-Man in that. I don't know. I didn't think you kind of needed him to be around, especially I like Flint Marko. I like Sandman, but I didn't think he was needed. It was kind of is the movie any different if you take out Flint Marko? The Electro fight goes a little different at the start, but
I think they want to represent all three movies. That's why.
Yeah, but fair. But
because maybe Topher Grace didn't want to come back and be the fake Venom.
I don't think they needed Topher Grace to come back and be the fake Venom. I don't think they needed that at all. And yeah,
I think for me, okay, that's the one thing that I'm nitpicking here right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I got to you gotta go all in with this if you're gonna do it like this. You have to have everybody back, all the Harrys, fake Venom.
Yeah.
Who else am I missing here? Rhino.
Rhino. I think that's
weird Electro from Homecoming. Remember, he was there briefly.
Yes.
Not Electro. Shocker. Sorry.
Don't forget,
Shocker.
there's also a Mysterio. There were the storyboards for Mysterio in the same Raimi one. He was going to be that weird maitre d'.
Yeah.
But it never happened. But all right. And sorry, this last thing that I was kind of this has nothing to do with the movie. I don't want to see this new Doctor Strange movie, because it's okay, so there's the fallout from this film, WandaVision, which I haven't seen, nor will I, and maybe there's Loki. I haven't seen Loki. I want to. I'm a bit concerned. Oh, here's evil Doctor Strange. That's so comic book, but I'm I don't want that. That's worrying me. I'm not going to see it, but
we'll see it. Okay, so when the world is safe again.
Are we?
The three of us are going to watch it on a Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. It's a great movie. Let's talk about the good stuff. You mentioned fan service. I think this was fan service done right so many ways. They acknowledged Tobey Maguire's natural webbing, which is always really, really weird. They mentioned his back. From, like the Spider-Man, was it Spider-Man 3 where it was like they accused him of having a bad, or he claimed he had a bad back and that's why they were like scheduling stuff about him not coming back for Spider-Man 3. That was good. Daredevil was just there.
Oh, that was amazing, by the way. Was because they already had like Matt Murdock was going to return in like the cinematic universe, not just in the show.
Yeah.
So they're like, just hint it was great for me.
So I haven't seen Daredevil. I obviously know who Daredevil is. So I nudged Daniel, I'm like, that's Daredevil, right? But the crowd were going wild for that.
Fun fact.
Yep.
With this, it's going to connect all of us right now. Well, probably mostly me.
Yep.
But I forgot his name, but the guy who controls his armory in Daredevil, who's also like his partner. Well, not that controls the army, sorry, I'm thinking of Punisher. But the guy who is his partner in Daredevil is played by the actor that plays Fulton in The Mighty Ducks.
Small world, The Mighty Ducks. I liked the Norman Osborn's reference to I'm a bit of a scientist myself.
Oh, I love that one. That's like cheesy. That's one of the memes you don't see too often anymore, but it's just in like
it's there.
It's there. You know it. When you see it, you see it.
Mm-hmm. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man saving MJ and Omega for Gwen was so good.
This is one segment I really want to focus on is the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, because I think I referenced it. Good. He was so good. And I referenced it when we were in the theater that everyone is loving Andrew Garfield, but I remember when Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out and I watched it with my friends probably like a week or two after. Mm-hmm. And maybe we just watched it on an off day. We watched like a Wednesday afternoon, but there was no one else in the theater. And this was like IMAX. No one else was in the theater and everybody just brushed that movie aside and said like, we got to reboot the franchise.
Yeah.
But this is my opinion. I think Andrew Garfield is an amazing Spider-Man. He's a great Spider-Man, but
because it was called Amazing.
Yeah, he's an amazing Spider-Man, but he just didn't have it in place. Like I like to reference him as Marion Gaborik in 2004.
Well, I think, listen, his acting, I think he did a good job, but they framed him, and again, I'm not a fan of the Amazing Spider-Man movies a lot. I don't love them, but like, he's a good actor.
He's great.
And like, well, the thing with him is like in this movie, they made him such a dork, which is great because I think a knockback I kind of had is they made him a skater boy in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I'm like, that's not Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing you got to be careful with when you're adapting comic books. Is comic book nerds are, I'm a manga fan, so like, trust me, I know all about criticizing an adaptation. But like, you got to be careful with that. Not to mention, I don't think Aunt May and Ben and Ben Parker were done great with him. But like, there was a lot wrong with the way those movies were written and like how his parents were still alive. I was like, what are you thinking?
Part is just like, I don't like that part. But in terms of like,
but he was great.
He's great.
No Way Home.
Yeah,
he was great.
I like to like. I think it's just maybe I did watch it at a formative time in my life when I was younger. But I think for Amazing Spider-Man, I think I related more with the Andrew Garfield.
Yeah,
I know it's not like comic book accurate, but I think it just for the time the way they portrayed him, and I think that when you have your own, I guess, personal connections to a character, I think I related the most to Andrew Garfield, because I think when I first watched the Tobey Maguire ones, I was never really good in my science classes. And he was just a bit older, right? He was a lot older. And then I think Andrew Garfield, I think he is older than me, but it's like the point in my time, like in my life when that movies came out, I think like not the movies itself, but the character is just the one where I'm like, I identify with that Spider-Man a lot.
You're a few years older than me, but like I grew up with Sam Raimi. Those were my movies. But I think what kind of, especially the original one that might throw people off, and people make fun of Tobey Maguire's cry face. I think it's a product of making it, One Piece is a manga I love, and when you can get away with a manga and then an anime and the animation or the goofy facial expressions, I wonder if part of Toby's sort of wild aneurysms is very trying to be very accurate to the panel of a comic, and I wonder if that's almost sometimes a detriment to his performance. But anyway, sort of going back, we will talk about the Spider-Mans in a second here. Last thing that I really liked, fan service, and we're gonna get to more really really good stuff. But it's to do with fan service. I love musical cues so much. So when Toby Peter was talking to Doc Ock and Flint Marko, and they played his theme. What a nice touch that was.
Yeah, I loved it.
It's
nothing new because it wasn't okay. So disclaimer: Zack Snyder's Justice League is amazing. The theatrical one, I'm probably the biggest Batman fan out of the three of us.
It was awful,
and it was awful. But the one thing they did well was when there was one part for a solo part for Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman. They played a part of Danny Elfman's part for theme for the 1989 Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, yeah, that's great. But I think that would have worked better if it was in Flashpoint because Michael Keaton's actually coming back.
Yeah.
So I think
good, by the way.
Before that came out, we have this one, and I think they did that perfectly. That it is Tom Holland's movie, but everybody who goes into this has their own Spider-Man. And that's what I loved about it, that each time that you had the one Spider-Man on screen or the one that was able to have those throwbacks to the fan service aspects of it, it was still there. It was carefully done.
I don't think the other Spider-Man overshadowed Tom Holland either, which I thought was maybe going to be a balance that was they tried to hit. But I thought they did really good. You know what else I liked? People I think you gotta would sometimes forget about is Peter's a giant nerd. So seeing all three of the Peter Parkers in the lab working on all their the science projects and the cures for the villains, I thought was so neat. This is one of those things I like what you're doing here. I really, really like this. What else was really, really, really nice? Because again, science is such a part of Peter's character. Just seeing all three of them together. This is the first movie I've been to when it's a raucous crowd. Because normally I don't like it. But when Andrew Garfield popped, you could tell it was about to happen. And when he takes the mask off, it was so. And then it's Peter Parker, and Toby's coming. It made the movie 10 times better.
Yeah, I think so too. I've mentioned it before. It's funny. I'm bringing back all the stories I told you guys when we were together on Friday, but it is true when you're in this moment when you want to watch these movies on the first day and get those types of reactions, especially when there's the big reveals.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird when you don't get it because I think I told you when I first watched Endgame, I just waited so long for it to not watch it because basically it was sold out everywhere. I'm like, I'll watch it when I watch it. And then I eventually watched it when I was working at Ted Rogers and my boss is like, yeah, just come back whenever. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. I just watched Endgame. And to watch it and see those big reveals and just have you and an elderly couple on the left over there.
Spoiler alert for Endgame. I wish I had been in a full theater of hyped fans when Captain America picked up Thor's hammer because I had to stop myself from freaking out in the theater. Yeah. It was so good. It was this is so cool. And you know what it helps is you can tell that the ones especially cheering for Toby, it's kids. Again, this is what I always stand by this. The reason I will always have a benefit of the doubt for DC's, I grew up watching the Justice League cartoons, right? But I'll also have a great for Marvel for mainly the X-Men and Spider-Man. Spider-Man is just such a I could care less about the Eternals. I could care less about Hawkeye or any of them. But you
say hot guy?
Hawkeye.
Okay.
Hawkeye. Okay. But if you give me my Spider-Man, I will watch it all day because that is just me being a kid again. And you could feel it in the theater. It was really cool. I'm not going
to lie. Okay, so we're going to move on with this. But I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I think, we have three different options with the Spider-Man. But I feel like the way we are, our personalities, the way we like things, the way we talk about things, I think Spider-Man is the most relatable superhero for us.
Dude, 100. Okay, listen. I love Tom Holland Spider-Man the moment he showed up with some Lego.
Yeah.
Okay, it's as simple as that. Okay, and the other ones, they're just it was so good. It was so good. What else was just stupid amazing? Talking about the other Spider-Man, Tom Holland again. I thought his acting,
Yeah, it's great.
especially after Aunt May's death. And do you know what was cool about that whole sequence? Is they've been sitting on the "with great power comes great responsibility" line with Tom Holland for 3 movies, and they used it at the perfect time.
They did.
Because they've been kind of spacious when it comes to Uncle Ben, because it's been so played out in all the other movies, but they nailed using it, and the way it kind of connects Toby and Tom, and then they mentioned the same thing with with Gwen with Andrew Garfield. Oh, they nailed it. It was the Triforce coming together. They really did a good job.
They did. And can we talk about that part? That part was done so well, but it annoyed me in a good way. I think that after all the years, all the other movies we've watched him in, we love Willem Dafoe. We just can say that. We love Willem Dafoe.
Yes.
As an actor.
Yes.
But I felt like a kid again where he came back as Goblin. And I'm like, oh, you actually annoy me the same way when I was a little kid. You're a horrible person.
Oh yeah, when he throws every time he throws one of his Goblin bombs, I'm like, but he's Goblin. We'll get to Goblin later because I thought the kids need to understand that Goblin is the villain for Spider-Man, and they did so much depth for Green Goblin. I love Doctor Strange when he sees all 3 Spider-Man. He's thinking what's happened? The Sorcerer Supreme is gonna lose it on me here. The Wang's gonna be like, "What have you done here, Strange?" But it's just the moment where they come down and they're doing all their flips to see Peter. It's just and we're all waiting for that one scene, the money shot of all 3 of them together in their suits. It was so nice. And yeah, some of the villains, obviously, everyone had their guy. Andrew Garfield had Lizard and Electro. Lizard was fine, I guess. Toby had Doc Ock, who was great. Flint Marko, Norman Osborn, but we'll talk about Norman Osborn because they kind of became Tom Holland's character, or big nemesis there. Yeah. First off, they made him less campy, and they made him terrifying.
Yeah, they made him a jerk.
But there was sympathy for Norman, because they really played off the mental thing of the Goblin, which I don't think they really did at all. It was kind of passing. Carrie, please. It was kind of passing, especially with Harry too in the third movie. But they really something that I think is going to be a passing moment if they ever go back and visit the old movies was as Norman's about to go back and he says, "Peter, what have I done?" Because he realizes, Aunt May's dead. And the Statue of Liberty is in pieces around him, and Captain America's shield. It's insane. You did a great job. I think Daniel lagged. Oh no. All right. Wait, Daniel, you back?
Am I back?
Okay, good. Yeah, no. So yeah, they did Green Goblin really, really well. What'd you think?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Again, it's just the throwback to all of it, where I think I took him for granted as a little kid because I watched those Spider-Mans like crazy. Yeah. As a kid. I think Spider-Man 2 was one of my Christmas gifts in elementary school. And man, I think I took it for granted that I saw the Goblin so many times that even when I started reading the comic books, it was always the Goblin. And it was really refreshing that it was the same familiar one, but a new take on it. The part where the Spidey senses happen.
Yeah, he's figuring it out. Yeah.
He's figuring it all out. I was like, oh, I made a mistake. What did I do? And it's I let this guy I trusted this guy.
Yeah, at first, I didn't like when Willem Dafoe smashes the Goblin helmet because I just wanted to see it back for a while. But when you see all Norman's face as the Goblin with the equipment, you kind of realize, okay, so it does a better job of showing this dichotomy of the Goblin and Norman. By the way, those Spider-Man villains love experimenting on themselves, don't they? Shout out to you, Mr. Lizard. Okay, John Jonah Jameson was great in the way that I hated him so much. I wanted to.
He was annoying.
Yeah, he was. He was annoying. I was like, man, did you not no sympathy?
He makes me not trust the media. I will never work in the media. No, I'm lying. We love the media.
Yeah.
When it's done correctly.
So here's what I wanted. Where were my John Jonah Jamesons from the other universe?
Yeah. Where was his son going in the space shuttle with the symbiote on it?
So, okay. Good question here. Okay, post-credit scene number 2 was the Strange stuff. By the way, Aunt May's death.
Yes.
Yeah. Aunt May's death was the saddest in any Spider-Man movie.
I agree that. Okay, this is something I wrote in the notes. This is one thing I wanted to really focus on with that part because we talked about the Goblin part. We talked about how it led to Aunt May's death. But for me, it was, to be honest, this was more tragic. And we've mentioned the Uncle Bens. We mentioned the other characters that have died. But for me, I think this was the heaviest because, in a way, we grew up with this Aunt May, with Marissa Tomei's Aunt May.
Yeah.
She first appeared in Civil War, and that was 5 years ago, guys.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. There's that clip where he just shows up and he's like, "Are you hitting on my aunt?" Because you think about it, Uncle Ben in the other 2 movies is there for like a second.
Yeah.
Aunt May is like nothing in Amazing Spider-Man. She's a horrible family member in the Sam Raimi one. She's awful. This Aunt May was easily, and it's like, why is his aunt like the age of her great-grandmother in the Sam Raimi ones too?
Yeah, I never got that.
But no, they did it good. You mentioned the symbiote, by the way. So in the post-credit scene, Tom Hardy's in a bar, drunk, saying some things about Thanos. He disappears, and you're like, "Oh no, what's?" Because apparently in Venom 2's post-credit scene, you see him watching a TV, and he sees Peter Parker, and it's Tom Holland. But so he disappears back in his own universe, like all the villains did. But you see a bit of the symbiote, and it starts moving. So Venom is there. The Venom symbiote is there. So it's the question of, okay, who's going to be Venom because it's not Tom Hardy? And I wonder if this is, I don't know if this is a thing of like, is there something in Tom Hardy's contract? Is he going to go do James Bond now so he didn't want to do that? But yeah, who's going to be, first off, Venom Spider-Man, let's go!
Yes.
Second off, who the hell's playing Venom now?
The symbiote will play him.
It's just the symbiote.
It's just the symbiote, yeah.
It's like a thing of Peter. Yeah, but there's got to be someone to go against him.
Yeah, okay, this is one thing I keep saying this. I've mentioned it before to you guys, but for me, and I think a lot of people, the best comic book run for me for Spider-Man was when Todd McFarlane worked on it in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he introduced Venom, he introduced Carnage, he did not introduce Carnage, sorry. And they played out that storyline so well in the comic books that it was just rushed in Spider-Man 3, and it was just kind of, that's the only iteration we have of a Spider-Man Venom thing. So my idea of it is, why not just split it? Like maybe, and this is what they did with in the comic books as well, and I know you have more liberty with it, but why not have like a Spider-Man where he just has the symbiote for a movie?
My dog is being extra lippy. But what you can also have is like, oh, there's going to be some noise in a second, is like, I think there's like a recent like Marvel thing of like the symbiote trying to work with Hulk.
Yeah.
You can have the Avengers working with Venom, and like, because like the Marvel ones are now in like the outer space galaxy phase, you can run into the other symbiotes too, because there's tons of them. So the work is there. Okay, ending of the movie. Peter sacrifices all his relationships. Happy, MJ, everything. I do have questions. So does
Ned?
Ned. Does Happy still know that Spider-Man's a thing? Then? Like, what's up with Stark Industries? By the way, is it just gone now because Mysterio died? Like, and they got. There's a lot of questions that I have about Stark Industries. But he sacrifices relationships for the greater good. His friends are going to MIT. Maybe you could have cut the runtime by 10, 15 minutes of less MIT stuff, but I digress. But it's a really somber ending.
It is. And it's
the Emperor.
I think there's 2 ways you can see it. It is a necessary thing, because when Tom Holland mentioned that he was going to think about taking a break from acting. So this could end off, it's like, okay, so this is where we are. But at the same time, there's enough there where, and then we're not just including the Tom Hardy part, but there's enough there that when he comes back, it's like, okay, where were we? And we could do this.
Here's the thing. They're not going to stop making Spider-Man.
No, they're not.
But if you ended Spider-Man here, this would be the perfect bow on the franchise. Because there is good resolution going back to Spider-Man 2. The same Amazing Spider-Man series. Oh god, the dogs are really going. I'll try and power through this. The same Raimi ones, there's resolution there. By the way, it was really nice seeing Doc Ock and freaking not Sam Raimi. Toby. Like being like, oh, my dear boy, because they were a cool relationship. But like, if you ended it here, it's perfect. It's such a great ending. Okay, amongst all the Spider-Man movies you've seen,
yes,
where does this rank?
Ooh.
Because I don't care if I just saw it, I'm putting it number 1. This is like one of my top 3 movies of all time.
I put it number 2.
Behind?
Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay, fair enough. I haven't seen those ones yet, so
that's so. I don't know. That one was.
I've heard it's very good.
It is really good.
Okay, amongst all Marvel movies.
So like the cinematic universe are all Marvel movies ever.
Cinematic, yeah, the ones that matter.
I'll put this. What? No, Blade 2 matters. But okay, anyways.
It's different.
Okay, but yeah. But cinematic universe. I'll put this number 2.
Behind?
Thor Ragnarok.
Really?
Yes.
So
that's my favorite. Like that's probably like the only cinematic universe Marvel movie that's like on my top 20 list.
I think my top 5 Marvels are in no particular order because I'm not going to do it. Winter Soldier, Ragnarok, because that's a really good. It's so funny. No Way Home, Infinity War, Endgame are like my top 5.
Okay, I think mine are Thor Ragnarok, Away from Home.
Yeah.
Infinity War, Winter Soldier, and what else did I really like? There's one. Which one did I really, really like?
Thor: The Dark World. No, it's awful.
No. Incredible Hulk.
Really?
Yes, I loved Edward Norton.
It's
fun
awful.
Fact. What? No, it's great. With Edward Norton?
Yeah, it's awful.
With Abomination? It's filmed in Toronto.
And?
I loved it. That was probably like a top 5 movie for me. I don't like Mark Ruffalo as Hulk.
He doesn't feel quite nerdy as Banner, I'll give you that. I did not like Fusion Hulk in Endgame. I thought it was so dumb. Anyway, where is our Planet Thor stuff? Where's that? When's that happening, Marvel? You cheap bastards. Anyway, Disney, you're gonna get Lego sales from this. So you know how they're at the end of the movie, like they have like Peter puts up his Lego Emperor. Mm-hmm. I saw people saying like, oh, here's this raising, like they did this big philosophical reference, and I just kind of thought they're releasing this in the middle of December and Christmas is coming up. I think Disney's gonna want the product placement. Anyway,
I know them. Alex is probably gonna comment on this later.
Yeah.
But he even mentioned if we had more time on Friday, we were going to all go Lego shopping.
Oh, of course. And he was going to pay for it, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
He was actually going to buy me the Star Destroyer. That was $1,000.
Just to be clear, I never said that.
He said something about Republic gunship. I don't remember that.
Exactly. Okay. And with that, we're going to end today's episode.
Oh, one more thing. Sorry. Before Spider-Man, I didn't get to mention it in my notes.
Okay.
I love Ned. I always want to see a Filipino character in a Marvel movie, and then when his Lola, which means grandmother, started speaking Tagalog in their house about cleaning the house when the Spider-Man came, that was a great moment for me.
I was curious as to what they were speaking, so that's good to know. By the way, sorry, Daniel, but anytime something cool happened, I nudged you because I'm like, oh, Daniel.
I know you were freaking out.
It's okay. Toby! I was losing it. I was absolutely losing it. But it was fun. Okay.
We're going to talk about this again when Alex is ready.
Yeah. Okay. Like we did, but hopefully it's not 6 episodes down the line like someone in the Leafs documentary.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, that's so. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. Wherever you can download it, download the episode and listen to it on the go. We're trying to get up the downloads too. Never forget. Check out all our stuff individually, social medias, all that. Especially check out the TikTok. Let us know. What did you think of Endgame? Not Endgame, but that was a good movie. What did you think of No Way Home? Because it was so good. Oh, something I forgot to mention. The Spider-Man Doctor Strange fight was so cool.
That was cool.
And that's it.